Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Dutchmen Discussions, a new series from Lebanon Valley Athletics, where we'll be interviewing numerous head coaches to help you get to know them and take a deep dive into how LVC operates. I'm Mike Freeman, Director of Athletic Communications, and kicking things off will be Don Parsons, LVC's head men's ice hockey coach. We'll be discussing how COVID-19 has changed Coach Parsons' recruiting style, and we'll also talk about Hershey Park Arena and its rich history, as well as last season and a look ahead to the 2020-2021 campaign. So we hope you enjoy head men's ice hockey coach, Don Parsons. All right, we are now joined by LVC head men's ice hockey coach, Don Parsons. Don, it's great to see you. How you doing? How have you been?
Doing good, surviving. Getting through this time, which is unfortunate, but it's typical lesson in life through adversity, and the better that we handle adversity, the better we'll get out of all this. So I think we're all using this time to obviously get as much work done as we can, spend some time with our families, get some stuff done that we normally wouldn't be able to get done. But again, just trying to stay productive and keep marching on.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it. So recruiting wise, I know you guys are big recruiters. You recruit, all over the world, really. So since you can't have prospective student athletes on campus and you can't bring them to historic Hershey Park Arena, how has your recruiting changed in the last few months?
Yeah, so fortunately, Mike, our recruiting was 95% complete, if not 100% complete, before this all struck. We had our enrollments, we had our kids, incoming kids, all kind of done and finalized, which was really lucky for us because normally we're a little later than we completed it this year. So we feel like we have an incredible class coming in, one of our most skilled classes coming in. It's a big class. You mentioned internationally, we have a kid coming. We added a kid from Russia, Arty Mikhailov, defenseman, played in Charlotte for the last few years. And we also added a goaltender from Quebec, played in New Jersey this past year. And then, of course, we have Zeke, who comes from the Czech Republic. So our roster footprint is getting larger, and we like it. If we want to compete, we have to scour the world for the players that we can get in here. And as you know, Lebanon Valley College isn't just a place where kids come and play college hockey. It's a place where you have to prioritize, where hockey and athletics are 1A and 1B, as I like to tell every kid that I talk to, in hopes of getting him to come here as a part of our program. We don't just give you a diploma at the end of your 4 years, and we don't expect you to come in here, and we can't expect you to come in and just want to play college hockey. So that, I know this was a recruiting question, but that's what we tell these kids. So it makes it difficult. It makes our target market a little smaller. So we have to look under every rock and in every crevice to get the right young men into this program. As far as future or starting our recruit class for next year, a lot of phone calls. Because we had finished up our recruit class for this year, I had started. We already do have a commitment, a defenseman, Jackson Legro from New Hampshire. He's committed for the 21-22 season. So we've got a jump start on that as well. And talking to a good amount of kids already, looking forward to the 21-22 class. So it didn't really slow us down any. We get back on the road. I go out to Massachusetts July 22nd and start recruiting all over again for next year's class. So, missed a couple tournaments towards the end of the season, the junior season last year, but again, I don't think we missed a beat.
That's great. And I'm glad you mentioned the student athlete perspective of it, because, you go a lot of other schools that I've worked at, they've kind of said the same thing, but at LVC, it's 100% student athlete. And, some schools more than others, but LVC is definitely, like you said, 1A, 1B, and it definitely shows throughout every single team that we have.
Absolutely. And one of the things I tell prospective athletes here when I'm talking to them and they ask about the D3 academic side of things here at Lebanon Valley College, I tell them that we kind of fill the gap between NESCAC and the rest of D3 academic standings or status, or and if they come to LVC, maybe they didn't have the academic history quite good enough for NESCACs, but they'll get a great education. And if we have to be that school where we fill that gap, we get a lot of interest just from that point there.
Absolutely. Switch gears a little bit. Can you kind of talk about Hershey Park Arena? And it's been around for 80 plus years, and even I remember going there as a kid 20 some years ago, and it literally looks the same that it did 20 years ago. So what do you kind of, when you can't bring a recruit there and actually see it, how do you kind of, tell them, oh, we get to play in one of the most historic arenas in the whole world?
It's pretty cool, and it definitely is a recruiting tool. Obviously, I think a lot of these schools, and there's not many in our conference that have rinks on campus. I think that's a pretty big plus and a recruiting tool that most of the SUNY schools have, and it's nice. Now you look at us, we have Hershey Park Arena. We're 8 miles down the road from campus. You mentioned it's one of the most historic ice arenas in the country, if not the world. I played 17 years pro hockey, played in a bunch of older rinks, and I remember, still to this day, remember some of the rinks walking into that you could just smell the hockey history.
Mm-hmm.
And the first day that I stepped into this arena, that's the first feeling I got, was like I could smell the hockey history.
Mm-hmm.
And then you walk in and you see the big bowl, you see 7,000 seats, and like you said, they haven't really done a whole lot as far as changes, but they're doing a really good job upgrading and keeping it up to to the level that we like it here. And it's clean, it's well kept, they upgrade, and the building again speaks for itself. But one of the first things I say is I go outside hockey to some of these kids, and I ask them if they know who Wilt Chamberlain is. And it's sad to say, Mike, but half the kids say no.
Oh no. Oh boy.
But parents obviously do. And then I tell them that Wilt Chamberlain broke the single game scoring record here, and 100 points in one NBA basketball game. So once I tell them that, it kind of sinks in. But players like Gordie Howe, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, like anyone back in those days who was somebody in hockey played here. And the NHL used to have exhibition games here all the time back when Gretzky and Lemieux and all those guys were around. And then you get the Hershey Bears, who, their whole farm system played here, and all those guys came through here. So the history is neat. And when I get bored, if I'm sitting around and don't have anything to do or have a free minute, which doesn't happen very often, I'll go around and I'll look for doors that I haven't seen yet, and kind of just kind of poke my nose around, and you find some pretty neat areas and some things that have been hanging around for a long time that if the walls could talk, I'd sit and listen for a long time.
Oh yeah. And it's even the local history that it has. I'll come up to set up for a Saturday afternoon game, and there's 50 figure skaters that are 10, 15 years old getting lessons, and then those Friday night games where we'll still be there at 11 o'clock, and the old time guys are coming out and playing games, and their wives and everybody are coming to watch, and it's pretty unbelievable that
It's
they let
nonstop.
that go on. That's
Yeah, it's
great.
great.
So I want to kind of talk about for a minute the seniors who graduated this past year. They helped out a lot their whole 4 years. Tyler Perhack, Cole Hepler, Jared Karras, and Zach Yingst. They brought everything you could think of to the table. You have a goalie, you have defensemen, and 2 star forwards. Can you just kind of talk about how they impacted the team and how much they'll be missed?
Yeah, and to add on to that, Mike, they were part of the inaugural recruiting class for our comeback to D3
That's
team,
right. Mm-hmm.
our comeback team. So they were pioneers in the modern day Lebanon Valley College D3 hockey program. So they've represented our school tremendously. Great young men. Tyler Perhack did a great job when called upon. I think his sophomore year, he was all UCAC or ECAC West. I forget what it was back
I
then.
think it was all MAC, actually. All MAC second team, I believe.
All MAC second team. Yeah. Zach Yingst, I was just talking to his dad a little while ago, and he's one of the few that have come straight out of high school and played college hockey, and he did a tremendous job. He was a captain this year. Jared Karras, it's unfortunate that he had his last 2 years were riddled with injuries, and which held him back from being as productive as he wanted to. Great kid. He's going to maintain a position here in our coaching staff and help with statistics and video this year. So we're happy that he's going to be sticking around. And then, there's not enough time here to talk about Cole Hepler, really, what he's meant to the program and the way he carried himself and just everything he did. I don't want to say he was a surprise because I put a lot of time into recruiting him. But for what he brought to the table for 4 years was pretty amazing, to say the least. He's a 3-year captain. He was a team MVP 4 years in a row, even as a freshman. So, it was a special class and one that helped our staff to kind of change our thinking of the style of hockey and going from club hockey to NCAA hockey. And I didn't think it was going to be as much of a jump as it was, and it was pretty incredible how much how different the skill level is. But then again, you have these athletes that are willing to put the time in the classroom and then on the ice and let kind of the rest of their life happen. After those 2 aspects. So it's been fun. It's great. I love this. I love the kids. I love seeing the look on their faces when things are going right and things click. And it's definitely a very rewarding position.
Absolutely. And you mentioned kind of the type of players that you recruit. Ice hockey players are one of the kind of the teams that we kind of interact with the most, just because we're coming down to the locker room, giving you the film. They're up there helping us film the live stream during the game. And I think it speaks volumes to the type of, young men that you recruit. They come up to me first and say, "Hi, how you doing, Mike?" Shake my hand. And, they're always up there on time. They're always, we're having laughs and stuff. And, I think that's really great. And you talked about Cole. I also got to watch him all 4 years, this being my 5th year. So I got to kind of see his progression where you could tell, first year to sophomore year to junior to senior, he got better each and every year. And it was pretty amazing to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you talked about, well, you didn't say it, but character. Character is the first thing that's first characteristic that I look for in a hockey player. Obviously, when I'm watching hockey games, they've got to be skilled for me to pick them out. And but as soon as I talk to him after a game or in a practice or on the phone, or that character piece has to be there. I think I'd be surprised if any other coach across our board at LVC doesn't have character at the top of their list, just because
Yeah,
that's the type of school we are.
absolutely.
Um, and the other thing on that, Mike, I might kind of put my foot in my mouth here, but with the other coaches, but I truly think, and it could be biased, but I think hockey players are a different breed, different type of athlete. They get it. My kids too are coming in 2 and 3 years older than the typical freshman. These kids graduate high school, play 2 or 3 years of junior hockey. So my freshmen are 20 years old, 21 years old. They've learned how to live away from home. They've got that maturity piece, and they're young men when they come here, and when they graduate, they're 23, 24 years
Yeah.
old. So I get the benefit of that as well as a coach, just a more mature individual, although they're still college students, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But going back to it, I think the hockey player, is a different athlete. And you look at pro sports and the dedication, commitment, and the willingness to play through a lot of things that maybe a lot of athletes wouldn't. So again, another piece of why I'm lucky to be sitting on this side of the desk talking to you right now.
That's right. So on the flip side, you brought in some newcomers last year that, they were put in the lineup right away and really never came out. One you mentioned already was Zeke Moroz and Brad Viola. Can you kind of, one's, Zeke's a defenseman, Brad's a forward, and they kind of, I would say that they turned some heads in the conference last year. I don't think anybody was expecting them to be that good. Can you kind of talk about them for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll talk about Zeke first. And, for as good of a hockey player that he is, if you've had the opportunity or ever have the opportunity to have a conversation with him, it's just enjoyable to talk to him. The kid loves life. He loves the sport. I think he finished with a 3.5 GPA this year. Just a pure pleasure to talk to. And obviously tremendous on the ice as well. We're looking for both those guys, Brad and Zeke, to really step up and be, they'll only be sophomores, but we're looking for them to step up and act as veterans and help carry our program next year. I mentioned earlier, we have a good group coming in, a big group coming in, that they're going to need some leadership to follow. We've got a good leadership group. Our captains are Dan Galvez, Zach Belotis, and Tyler Rommel. They're all honest individuals, work hard when they come here on the ice, and they work hard in the classroom, and they're great individuals on and off the ice and on campus. So, we're looking for the leadership from those guys, as well as guys like Zeke and Brad Viola to kind of repave the way for us to successful years ahead.
Yeah, I remember the one thing that sticks out about Brad, I believe it was at home against Manhattanville this past season, where he was shooting from the left face-off circle and just went right over the goalie's left shoulder.
Bar down from the top of the face-off circle. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep. That was
as far as Brad's skill on the ice. So Zeke, we had an idea of what we wanted to see out of him. With Brad, the offensive upside that he brought this year was surprising to us.
Mm-hmm.
Not surprising, but we just didn't expect it. He was more of just a 200-foot player that was good in all areas, not great as an offensive output guy. But he made us believe that he's going to be able to put up some numbers in the next 3 years, and he's going to be counted on that. So sometimes it's not good to set the bar so high like he has. So we've got some high expectations for Brad, and I know a kid like Brad, he's gonna take that and run, and he's gonna work as hard as he can to keep raising that bar.
We'd like to thank Don Parsons for joining us on the first episode of the Dutchmen Discussions. We'll be back later this week with another episode, and we hope that you'll stay tuned for that. Thanks everybody for watching, and go Dutchmen.